So there were only about 5 or 6 big companies. Of course, my company, we always used to say we were the biggest, depended on the day. But we'd fly underneath the radar. It was a very, very aggressive, competitive industry because there were very few companies, very few people we could do business with. You know, in order to do business with my company, you had to have won the lottery. So imagine, you know, that's not like opening up the yellow pages and starting at the A's and cold calling, you know. There were only some 10,000 people that we could do business with out there. So the deals became, every lottery winner, if this was a room full of lottery winners, this would be a home run to be able to sit here and talk to you, because each of these deals, if I don't get this deal, I can't replace him. He's gone forever. It's his lottery prize or bust. So when we talk about lottery winners and doing business with these folks, you know, they were so financially unsophisticated that it was in some ways like taking candy from a baby. Now, the build-up, the punchline that I'm getting to here is that who created this business? Who made it possible for this industry, the secondary market, to exist? And it's the lotteries themselves. And what ended up happening is that I started writing this book thinking I'm writing my memoir. It sounded very sexy. And I was going to be a writer, and I was going to be funny finally, and people were going to see me for the talented artist that I am. But I realized, my publisher said, you know, you got to have a little, you got to throw some veggies in here with this meat. You got to tell them the important stuff, like the history of the lotteries. And so if you read my book, to see the second and the third chapters of the book are the parts of the book which aren't really about me and my story as much as about the lotteries, the history of the lottery, and also the marketing strategy with lotteries. I mean, first off, I don't know if folks know, but lotteries funded this nation. Every single colony, the 13 colonies, every single one was funded in one way or another by a lottery. Lotteries have been around since biblical times. And yes, it's true that lotteries were closed down in this nation for the better part of 75 years, but our nation was built on the backs of lotteries. But what's happened, and where I really feel compelled to stand here today and talk to you, is the practices of the lotteries themselves. For example, when the lotteries started these same video poker machines that hooked me so hard in Oregon back in the day, they lost any credibility they could say by them. We're just a state-run institution trying to turn a buck. They're casinos. They're casinos, but what makes them really dangerous is that unlike a traditional casino, you know, you walk into Caesar's Palace, you know the deal. Now, a lot of people in this room may not ever walk into Caesar's Palace, and I'm sure a few of you have for research. But Caesar's Palace, you know the deal. They're going to give you a steak, and there's going to be a show over there, and you've got $400 in your pocket, and they want it, and you want what they have. At least it is in the private sector. I'm not saying it's correct, but at least you know who you're dealing with. But the lotteries stand up and they say, as many people today have said, some of my best lines were taken by you folks before, but they say this is for the kids. It's for education. It's for improvements in our roads. But more than anything, it's for education. That is one thing that is so blatantly wrong and so disingenuous. See the way that the lotteries themselves are run. They are the only state-run institutions that are run as for-profit businesses. When you talk about vices, you talk about tobacco, alcohol, gaming. In every state in the nation, the state runs the tobacco sales. In every state in the nation, the state runs liquor sales. But can you imagine half of the marketing that you see for lotteries? You know, you never see on the side of the bus, go buy a bottle of bourbon and a pack of Marlboro Reds and have a good day. You don't see that because we have created laws. We as a society have said enough. That used to be the case. But we have, as a society, have said that's not how we, you know, we understand people are going to smoke. We understand people are going to drink booze. And here's the stores where you can buy it, and we all get it. But we as a state are not going to sit here and browbeat our citizens and try to get them to drink more booze. Hey, you know, if you thought one shot was good, imagine two and a cigar. But we somehow have let these same state governments run their lotteries as for-profit businesses with some of the absolute most sophisticated marketing you can imagine. Because as we saw with some of the numbers that were up here earlier today, the growth of the lotteries have bottomed out. They have hit a plateau, and some of them are even shrinking. So like any good business, imagine any business that any of us know. You know, you sit down with all of your constituents, you know, all of the people that work for you, and you say, listen, numbers are in the tank. What are we going to do about it? There's only a couple ways to generate new income in any business. You got to make your product better, and you got to bring more people to the store. I mean, that's true of any business in the world. And that's exactly what the lotteries are doing now, is that they're making their products more invasive, and they're turning them into casino-like games. And these games are the same ones that hooked me out in Oregon, so I can tell you it works. But I can also tell you, as a guy who worked not with the lottery, but next to them as a lump sum buyer, that the lotteries, the reason that they put up with us, these lump sum companies, they don't really care. They truly don't care, at least not the way they should, about their winners. What they care about is that every one of you knows that Joe Schmo won the lottery on Tuesday. What happens to Joe Schmo afterwards, that's for the Entertainment Tonight to handle. But the lottery takes these winners and they hang them out to dry after they've won, and there's really one main thing that they do, which I think, especially when we're walking away from this conversation saying, what can you do to make it better? There are only 2 states of the 43 that have lotteries now. Only 2, Michigan and very recently Delaware, allow their winners to claim their prizes anonymously. 2 of 43. Why? Who cares, right? But what they do, the reason that they won't allow them to claim their prizes anonymously is because of sales and marketing. They need the winners' names out there so that we all know that the guy from Poughkeepsie just won. And I grew up in that town. I know he exists. My mother's cousin's brother's sister knows him. It won't work as a marketing strategy to say someone won. It works in Michigan, and it recently works in Delaware. And by the way, their lotteries, they're doing just fine. But what happens is that, and I'm a guy who knows after 7 years of trying to find lottery winners in Michigan, it was trying to find a random hidden person, rather than doing a Freedom of Information Act request and being able to find a lottery winner that quick, a Google search. If the lotteries allowed their winners to claim their prizes anonymously, they would at least have a shot at having a normal life. And if they had a shot at having a normal life, maybe they would try to do the right thing with that money.
Does any state, when the lottery winner comes to claim the prize, try and educate the person about how their life may change and how to protect themselves against?
Very, very perfunctory, almost embarrassing, kind of like, and here's your paperwork, you know, careful of the piranhas outside, don't step in the pond. But it's embarrassingly thin, to the point where it's really non-existent. But no one gets out of there without having a little picture ceremony with the press and that check. That somehow they have time for.